Hello, my name is Allison Carmen, and welcome to my podcast, 10 Minutes to Less Suffering. And today I want to talk to you about this new variant that's been in the news. As you know, it's called the Omicron variant. And a lot of us are finding this news very overwhelming. After being in the situation from March 2020 with vaccinations and social distancing and masks, it can be very frightening to think about a variant that's more powerful than Delta and a variant that could evade vaccines or natural immunity. And after a couple of minutes lying in bed this morning, I just caught myself because I realized that my fear and my worry was just a projection of the past into the future. And of course, we need to follow what the scientists are saying and the doctors are saying, and we need to continue to take precautions. But where we allow our mind to go is our choice. And yes, we could be concerned in the moment, but to write a story and to be stressed and worried about something that hasn't happened yet is not going to serve us today, and it's not going to serve us in creating the future that we want to see. And just like I've said on so many podcasts, right now, the present is the only place to be, and uncertainty is our best friend. Because when we think we know, again, all we're doing is bringing the past, bringing the fear of death and destruction and things going wrong, and pushing it out into an unknown future, which could have other possibilities. We have to remember that uncertainty doesn't just contain our fears and the things we don't want to happen. It also consists of many possibilities, unlimited possibilities. And when we spend more time recognizing the vastness of uncertainty, that we don't just look at the things that go wrong, we also imagine the things that can go right. We dream of them, we yearn for them, we work for them. The quality of our life is going to change. The moment's going to change, and the future that we create tomorrow is going to change. And the minute I started to embrace the unknown, I started to feel that hope again. Nobody knows what's going to happen next. And that might scare some of us. But if you think about it, we're already afraid. We're just forgetting that life has maybe. And maybe is the hope within the unknown. If you're looking at the future and you're just thinking the variant's going to be bad and things are never going to get better and we're never going to get through this, you're only looking at a few possibilities when uncertainty gives you so much more. In the vast unknown, there are new vaccines. In the vast unknown, there are new medicines. In the vast unknown, we figure out how to stop COVID from spreading. In the vast unknown, there are things in this moment that we cannot even imagine. And if we're willing to look at the unknown and realize there is no reason to give up hope, there's every reason to stay in that place because life has maybe. And I know I told this story on a recent podcast, but I'm going to tell it again because I feel that today is a perfect day to tell the story about the king and his servant. A king goes hunting with his servant, and the servant cocks the king's gun, and the king tries to shoot, and it backfires, and it blows the king's finger off. The king starts to yell at the servant and starts to say, "You blew my finger off. You are the worst. I'm going to throw you in jail." The servant says, "Maybe it's good." And the king says, "How could it be good? You blew off my thumb." And he throws his favorite servant in jail. And soon after, the king goes hunting, and these cannibals catch the king. He's by himself. And they decide they're going to cook the king, and they're going to eat him. But they're very superstitious, and they won't eat anything that's not whole. So instead of cooking the king, they release him because he's missing his thumb. And the king thinks to himself, it was good. It was good. It was good. My finger got blown off because the cannibals would have eaten me today. And he says to himself, I can't believe that I threw my favorite servant in jail. So he runs to the jail and he says to the servant, I'm so sorry. I'm so terrible. I should have never thrown you in jail. And the servant looks at the king and says, maybe it's good. And the king says, how could it be good? You've been sitting in jail for a couple of days. And the servant looks at the king and said, because if I was with you today, maybe the cannibals would have eaten me. And I love that story because it just reminds us that we never know. We always think we know when something bad happens, it's going to get worse, or when something happens, it's going to be bad, but we don't know. And I know most of you could look back to points in your life where you were so sure and you lost that job, it was awful, or when the person broke up with you, or all these things that happen in life. And a lot of them lead us to new places. And sometimes maybe we're not as happy with the life that we have, but we find a way to be okay. Often we work through things and we waste so much time being stressed and worried and aggravated about things that never come to pass. So this situation with the new variant has maybe. So I'm not saying that we have to sit around and say maybe it's good, but there are so many maybe statements that we could use here. And it's so easy to apply. All we need to do is ask ourselves our biggest fear. And if today your biggest fear is that this new variant is going to be horrible, this new variant is going to cause a lockdown, ask yourself, are you absolutely certain these fears are true? And the beauty of it is that you cannot be certain any of your fears are true. Nothing is certain. So what else is there when you start to do maybe statements? Maybe what is happening right now will work out okay. Maybe things will get better. Maybe this is good. Maybe it leads to some new discoveries. Maybe the world learns how to work together. Maybe we can accept this and still be okay. Maybe I need to make more changes in my life. Maybe I need to wait. Maybe I need to learn how to embrace uncertainty so I could change my life and I could live with less stress and less worry. And maybe if I'm less stressed and I'm less worried, I'll be more clear about my decisions today. Maybe I'll be more daring. Maybe I'll look at uncertainty in such a way that I start to embrace the unknown. I finally start my own business. I finally start to go back to school. I finally speak up at work. Maybe uncertainty is my best friend, because if I want my life to change, it has to happen in the unknown. Until we get this, until we change our relationship with uncertainty, we will always suffer, because everything about life is uncertain. And when you deal with your uncertainty, everything changes. Your relationship with uncertainty affects the job you take, the relationship you enter into, the way you live in COVID, how you're going to live the rest of your days. So today I am feeling just as hopeful as I did yesterday and the day before, because I'm recognizing that I don't know. And because if I don't know, there's hope. Until our last breath, there's maybe. And if there's maybe, there's hope. So let's not get so stressed and so worried that we weaken ourselves, that we get ourselves confused, that we make decisions that don't serve us. Let's stay in maybe. And what maybe asks us to do, it asks us to stay present. And in the present, you will always make the best decision for yourself. It's not telling you to turn away. It's not telling you not to see what's true for you in this moment. That is extremely important. But past this moment, everything is a maybe. Collect as much information as you can, make the best decision you can, but stay open to all possibilities. And don't despair. Despair is just bringing the past into the future. There are miracles in this lifetime. There are things that change, and history shows us that we get through very difficult times and good times come again. And if you embrace this concept of maybe, your life will change. Because when uncertainty becomes hope, and when you don't know becomes a time of creativity and curiosity, and you realize that maybe everything could still be okay, you just live differently. Because you start to know maybe there are many ways to be okay. And you stop being rigid, and you start being more flexible, and you start being more open to every single moment in your life. And it was unbelievable this morning when I just switched from fear and stress and worry to maybe. It's like someone taking a 40-pound bag off your back and someone putting the lights on and remembering to be so present and so grateful for what we have today, and to be so hopeful for everything that could come tomorrow. So none of us know what's going to happen with this new variant. But what we do know is that we have maybe. And because we have maybe, we have hope. And let that settle your stress, and let that settle your worry. Maybe things will get better. Maybe we could find a way to accept this and still be okay. And always remember my favorite maybe statement of them all. Maybe the best is yet to come. Thank you for listening to my podcast today. If you'd like to get in touch with me, you could email me at allison@allisoncarmen.com. If you'd like to buy my books, The Gift of Maybe or Year Without Men, they're available at all major bookstores and online retailers. And if you like this podcast, you could subscribe and leave a comment.